Hey there, welcome back to Wounds and Wisdom, a secret space for truth, tenderness, soulful growth, and remembering who you truly are. Today, we continue Season 3, The Becoming. This episode is for the part of you tired of waiting to feel ready. For the version of you who thinks change requires a new year or a perfect moment, or just a burst of motivation strong enough to carry you towards a different life. But becoming yourself does not happen in a dramatic transformation. It happens in small repetitions, tiny choices that seems insignificant until one day they're not. Showing up is not glamorous. It is not cinematic. And truthfully, it is rarely exciting. But it is holy. Because every small act you repeat becomes a message to your nervous system, your mind, your identity. And that message says something like this: I am someone who follows through. I am someone who chooses myself. I am someone who rises even gently. So today's episode is about the quiet power of showing up and how those small steps practiced consistently can rewrite a life from the inside out. People think inconsistency comes from laziness or just the lack of discipline. But that's not the truth. Inconsistency often comes from that shame around past failures. Overwhelm disguised as procrastination. Perfectionism that says, if I can't do it perfectly, why try? Trauma patterns that associate effort with disappointment. A nervous system that fears change. A survival mode that prioritizes endurance, not growth. And yes, most of us did not grow up in these environments, where showing up was celebrated. A lot of us grew up with the all or nothing. Hey, you should have done better. That is not enough. Yeah, you need to try harder. Why can't you just keep up? So small steps feel pointless. Small wins feel invisible. Trying feel dangerous. Because trying and failing meant shame. So showing up become emotionally loaded. And here is the unspoken truth. Small consistency does not fail because you are weak. It fails because the old version of you does not yet believe it deserves change. Identity gets stuck where shame taught you to settle. This is why showing up matters. Not because the act itself is big, but because it slowly proves to your nervous system that becoming is possible and safe. Behavioral psychology teaches this. We don't act because we are motivated. We become motivated because we act. Identity-based habit research adds, every time you show up, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming. Tiny actions compound. They reinforce neutral pathways. They signal safety. They create momentum. They shape identity. Your nervous system responds even more deeply. Small steps feel predictable. Predictability feels safe. Safety allows expansion. Expansions allows identity change. This is why large goals a lot of times feel overwhelming. They trigger survival fear. But small steps bypass the alarm system. And they whisper, this is safe. This is doable. This is who I am now. And my friends, when you stop waiting for motivation and start practicing tiny, gentle consistency, your brain begins to shift its self-image. You stop being the person who tries and actually become the person who does. Quietly, steadily, without theatrics, without perfection. And this is how nervous systems and identities change. Not all at once, but through repetition, gentleness, and small devotion. I show up even when it's small. There will come a moment when something subtle shifts inside of you. You realize you no longer break promises to yourself. Not because you finally have a willpower, but because you no longer abandon yourself the same way you once did. So showing up becomes less about achievement and more about self-respect. And then you begin to take small actions without bargaining, following through without self-punishment. Move gently instead of dramatically. Trust tiny choices to create big change. Feel pride in the smallest effort. You let consistency be quiet and not performative. And this is the sacred truth most people miss. Identity doesn't change when you achieve something. Identity change the moment you become someone who returns to yourself. Someone who shows up with softness, not pressure. Someone who makes progress without needing perfection. Someone who honors their future self with daily and quiet devotion. This is the art of showing up. This is the art of becoming. We're gonna do something different today. The ritual that we're gonna do today is gonna rewire your nervous system to trust small steps. And this is how it works. When you feel the pull to do something, like drink water, stretch, start a task, send the email, wash one dish, open the notebook. Give yourself 30 seconds of courage. Just 30. Set a timer if you need to. You're gonna begin the action. Not perfectly, not completely. Just begin. And the moment you begin, your nervous system receives a new signal. I am someone who shows up for myself. 30 seconds, it is enough to break avoidance. Enough to interrupt shame. Enough to shift identity. Once you begin, you often keep going. Not from pressure, but from presence. This ritual, it is small, but it changes everything. If you have time during this week, reflect on the following. What small actions feel meaningful to my becoming right now? Where do I abandon myself through perfectionism? What will consistency look like if it were gentle, not punishing? What identity am I reinforcing with my current habits? What identity do I want to reinforce instead? Let your answers come softly. Let them guide your next small step. You can let these words land on your nervous system. I am allowed to begin small. Every small step supports my becoming. I show up even when the action is gentle. My habits shaped the identity I choose. I honor myself with consistency, not pressure. I grow through devotion, not perfection. I rise through tiny acts of courage. Let them settle into your breath. Thank you for showing up for yourself with me today. This is Wounds and Wisdom, where your pain isn't shameful, it's sacred. Where your healing isn't linear, it's luminous. If this episode helped you notice your own becoming, share it with someone who might need this reminder. And if you feel called, please subscribe to keep growing with us. And remember, you are not healing or becoming alone. We are doing this together. Until next time, be gentle with your soul.